Hey guys, how are we feeling? How are we feeling? Come on, woo! Come on, mom, scream. Okay, great. Well, it's so good to meet all of you. I'm Alex. I actually only transferred into Alpha a year ago. I'm a senior now. And so I'm here to talk to you today about two main things. The first is, what is it like to transfer from a traditional school to Alpha High School? And the second is, what is it like to build a company in high school as well? And so I kind of wanted to start off with, what was my old school like? So I went to one of the best high schools in the nation. It's ranked top 30, top 40. You know, it was a magnet school, kind of focused on STEM, and the lifestyle was pretty rough. Oh, that's not flattering, but every day I was going to school for 8 hours, and I had at least 4 to 5 hours of homework every night. So that's around 12 to 13 hours a day on schoolwork alone. Now, this creates a couple of bad things for students. The first is, I was getting no sleep. The second is, a lot of your self-worth is just based on one thing, which is your likelihood of getting into a good college or your grades. And I think the third kind of saddest thing is, it feels like you don't have a very strong purpose. You're working on things that you don't really care about. You have to cram in all the things you really do care about after you go to school and do all this homework. And I think that can actually create a pretty bad culture, especially with your friends. And so I was kind of the friend that people would talk to, late at night, 1 a.m., they're texting me, they're like, "Ugh, Alex, I'm crashing out. I'm so upset. I don't know what to do. I'm so stressed. I have so many tests coming up. I'm just lost." And I got really familiar with this gap. Now, throughout these 2 years, I was also at my old school, I was building AI projects. I was super interested in neuroscience and how we can use AI to help our well-being and expand our humanity. These are things that just really fascinated me. And so I just started building these projects on the side when I had time. I even started building in neurotech, like brain wearables, like brain-computer interfaces. I was into brain chips. It was really cool. And no one really understood. They're like, "What's going on? Are you trying to go to Neuralink and build those chips? And what's happening?" My friends didn't understand me. But when I decided to go to Alpha for an event, they truly got me. I met Chris the first day there, and he was like, "This is so cool." And so quickly after that, my mom and we hopped on a call with Chris, and I transferred into Alpha within, 1-2 months? It was pretty crazy. It was a pretty quick turnaround. And now this is me. I've been doing crazy stuff. I've been speaking at conferences all around the world, building my company. But the most important thing is I've been meeting my best friends. Ooh, that's stretched out, but it's still the same happy, smiling faces. I think that's the strongest thing about Alpha. But anyways, going back to my story, I think the interesting thing about what I've experienced and came into Alpha with was this idea of, what is a problem I'm just super passionate about solving? And so I came in and I did this workshop called the 168-hour week. And this is where you're tracking an hour every day. What are you doing during the day? So we can see, what are you naturally gravitating towards? What are your natural interests? What do you just like doing? And it was quite embarrassing because I went to my guide at the end of the week and I was like, I'm watching a lot of Netflix, I'm watching a lot of YouTube. But you can also see that I was watching a lot of psychology YouTube videos and tech YouTube videos. And you can see where you're naturally gravitating towards. And so, after talking about it with my guide, I wanted to combine this interest, this passion for psychology and technology with this problem that really motivated me. So you heard about kind of, my high school and what that lifestyle was like, and how I was maybe trying to help my friends or help myself back there. But it actually goes deeper. Even before that, when I was around 8 or 9, my parents got divorced. I had to go to therapy. But my therapist ended up being 50 years older than me. Now, I don't know if you know young people, but we have a hard time talking to adults. Sorry, guys. And I just really couldn't connect with her. And so, after noticing this gap as a young kid, talking to this person I didn't connect with, that I only saw once every other week, it really struck me. And so after these experiences, understanding my, passions, it came together and I decided to start building something. So the obvious thing to build is you're going to build an AI therapist, you're going to put it on the GPT store, it's with ChatGPT, and then I started handing it out to all my friends. And I actually got some pretty harsh feedback. People were like, "I'm never going to use this. This is not helpful. I don't like this." It was just too impractical. Meaning, again, these teens didn't like the unfamiliarity of talking to this chatbot online. It just didn't feel like it was helpful. It didn't relate to them. So after talking to 1,000 teens in the span of a couple months, I decided to make a little pivot. And I turned this AI therapist into a talking stuffed animal. And so now my company is Berry, these AI-powered talking stuffed animals for teenagers and their mental health. Now, Jack told you already, as I was building this company, this product, they used to be all over here. Teams would take them around and talk to them wherever they wanted to. I started to see more traction. Investors wanted to start investing. More people wanted to start using it. And I said, OK, we need to make the next step. So after, again, building these 8 iterations and getting to maybe around 50 users and people using it every day, I said, how can we scale this up? The next thing was to start raising money. So this is a funny story. I was on Twitter, I was posting. I'm sure you've heard about our audience building requirements. For me, it was I had to post 7 tweets a day, which is quite a lot. And I was writing about my company, and after writing a couple of tweets, this really successful founder ended up being in my DMs. And we hopped on a 15-minute call, ended up going 2 hours, and she said, why don't I just connect you to some of the top VCs and investors in Silicon Valley? And so after a couple of calls, I got along with one person really well. And instead of writing me just a giant check, he said, why don't I just write you a small check, and why don't I just fly you out to beautiful San Francisco, and you can just go work on your company full time. And so that's what I did. I came home, I told my mom, and her jaw dropped. And she said, this is not happening. She's right there. You can shame her for that. No, I'm kidding. But after a bit of convincing and talking to Chris and saying, I promise I'm still going to graduate high school, we made it happen. And so this January, at the end of January, I flew out to San Francisco. I did an alpha session, of course, whatever. But I did the alpha session, and then I went to the VC's office, and I've been working out of that office ever since. And so yeah, now I'm 17, I'm VC-backed, and I'm building my company full-time. It's a crazy thing to say. But after this experience, it's coming down to a close. March 31st is our demo day, and 300 investors will be there. It's kind of crazy to look back and be seeing, it started as this idea, this experience of going to my guide and asking them about, how can I create something new that helps people? And now it's becoming real. We're getting real money. We have real users. We just had a TikTok go viral, which is great. And I wanted to share with you guys, how did this happen? What are the 3 things that I kind of gained from Alpha, and how did they help me do this? And it came down to these 3 things. The first is time. As I said before, I was literally working 12 hours a day at my old school, and it now changed to 3. With all that free time, you can really explore what you love doing. And you can really dive deep into the research and understand, how are people using these tools? How can we scale this? What is the science behind it? I didn't mention this earlier, but over 50% of teens are talking to AI for companionship every single day. This is terrible because we've already seen 2 public suicide cases linked to this. And so when I saw this, and I had the time to really go deep into this, and the time to talk to these people, I was able to create a better solution. The second is motivation. A lot of people, when they talk about Alpha, they're like, oh my gosh, the ed tech is amazing. It's an AI-powered school. The truth is, I don't really care about that. Do you know why? Ed tech is 10% of it. The beauty of Alpha is the other 90%, which is you have your #1 supporters in the world, your guides and your friends, and they're here, it's true, and they're here to help you and motivate you to find what you truly love doing. And so here was the deal that I made with Jack before I went to San Francisco. They said, if you can finish semester A of academics before you go to San Francisco, so you can finish semester B when you come back, we'll pay for 1 month of your rent. And so I worked my butt off. There are kids here. I worked my butt off so hard, and I did it. And they paid for 1 month of my rent, which was super helpful. And so motivation, I think, is a really important thing of Alpha, and we have the resources to support that as well. The last thing, which you saw in that photo, is community. Everyone here is so like-minded. Everyone is working towards the same thing. Everyone is aligned. And it's so easy to make your best friends here. That is the beauty of Alpha. It's why you are all here today. This is the community. It's the guides, it's the friends, it's these people, it's you guys. And so thank you so much for coming today. This is the beauty of Alpha. Thank you so much. I'm happy to take any questions at all. Any questions? Yes. How is my product better than ChatGPT? So if you go back to the idea of, okay, why are these teens talking to AI every day for companionship? You'll see, well, I guess not why, but what's happening there and why is it linked to things like suicide cases? The way AI models are trained nowadays is to support you, is to agree with you. They're what we call sycophantic, very validation focused. This is great because if you're talking to ChatGPT and you say, hey, write my essay in a certain way, it should write your essay in that way. But if you have a coach or a therapist or you're working on your mental health, you shouldn't always just be agreeing with this person. So one of the first things I saw with my teens using this AI therapist with ChatGPT is, hey, I got in a fight with my friend. It was totally their fault. It was all their fault. I did nothing wrong. And ChatGPT is just agreeing with you. That's not okay. And so we're building in these anti-sycophantic principles into the actual training, the post-training of the LLM, in order to show that this thing is like actually useful to you, and it's coaching you through these things. And there's something called productive friction to help you grow. Yes?
I have curiosity, you're very young. This is amazing. How do you tackle all the different things, like legal, I'm an attorney, like things like that? Like, does Alpha help with things like this? I mean, it's not just the idea, right? It's all the boxes that need to be checked. It's amazing that you somehow figure that out at your age. And is there support for that? Like, how do you go about that?
Yeah, there's like 3 things I can think of. The first is our guides. Our guides, like one of my guides is was a lawyer, and so she connected me to another lawyer who helped me make my privacy policy. So those connections, they're really helping you personalize it to your project. The second is the frameworks. We have 3 skills we want you to learn in high school. Be the #1 expert in your field, build a product, and build an audience. And that's like the framework to build a company. And there's all those other things that they're helping you with, but I have a clear, first of all, I know, yes, I have to have a privacy policy. I know these things because of Alpha. The third is AI, and Chris can tell you this. We were on the plane to San Francisco, and he saw me just using all my AI tools together. I literally have like a GPT or a Claude project for each individual part of my business. So I have one for legal, I have one for hiring, I have one for product, I have one for expertise, et cetera. And so I'm able to tackle all these things because I have I have clarity on how to learn about these things and also how to act on these things. I guess the fourth is you also just have mentors around these things as well. And when you start raising money and hiring people, they're doing it for you. Great question, yeah. Yeah.
What's your timeline for the product release?
Yes, thank you for asking. This is a fun one. So we're going to start shipping around November, December. If you're looking for a Christmas present for your teen, talk to me. Yeah. So that's the first thing. And the way that happened, actually, Carson, the SF guide, was up here. He connected me to someone who was on Shark Tank and built like a plushie kind of company. And so he connected me to a bunch of factories in China. We're going to China, Shanghai in June, and we're going to tour all these factories. I might sleep on one and make a cool YouTube video around it. But yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. And then from the software side, we're just iterating every single week based off our user feedback.
Where can we follow your progress? X?
Yes, follow me on X, Twitter, or any social media platform. I'll send you guys the link. But Barry AI Plushies is my handle. Yes. Woo! Yeah. Other questions? Yep. Yes. Yeah, so what therapy methods are informing AI? A couple different things. There's therapy methods that we use, but here's the important thing to know about Barry. This is not a therapist, this is not a friend, it's more of a coach. So those are the things you should know. The reason I say that is because therapy is looking back on all the things you have had happen in your life. Coaching is looking forward, right? Trying to build up new habits, etc. And so that's the framework that I like to think about this with. But there are useful theories from therapy like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, ACT, DBT, all these things that you can program to AI pretty quickly. The other things we think about, specifically for teens, I'm sure you heard Austin talk about self-determination theory, which is autonomy, competence, relatedness for teens. Emotional granularity, a big thing for teenagers is, can you name the emotion? That's like 50% of it. And there's a couple other things I think about there, specifically with the anti-sycophancy stuff. Great question. Yes?
What's next? College?
Oh my gosh. The number one question in my life is, are you going to college? Are you going on this full time? I have no idea. I have no clue. I literally have no idea. But it's a great question. The cool thing about Alpha is, I applied to all my college. In 10 days I hear about all my colleges. Today Caltech comes out, and Ivy Days in a couple weeks or something. And then 4 days after, I go to this demo day and pitch to 300 investors. And so it's just the duality of being an Alpha student. You don't know what's coming next. There's a lot of uncertainty. I can walk you through my thought process around that, but we'll see. Other questions? Yes, yeah.
So the bear that I saw on the screen is going to be a coach, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a coach, and kids are going to come to it, and they're going to be like, I got to go fight with my friend, and it's all their fault.
Yep.
They're going to say, maybe you got something to do with it, kind of thing. And you've got this crisis, right, which you're well aware of mental health among young people today. Since you're in this field, right, despite your youth, do you have a view on what the true core of this breakdown of mental health that's going on amongst the young is? What's the root stem?
There's so many. There's so many.
But you have to pick one.
It's impossible. It got to my head. Yeah. Okay. One thing. This is what I think is true for everyone. Insecurity. Truly, if you just dive deep into all of your problems you have in your life, usually irrational fears. If you trace back insecurity, oh, I'm gonna fight my friend, I'm scared, I don't know what I'm gonna do, what if I lose this friend? It usually comes down to I'm scared of being alone. Or I'm stressed on a test, I don't know what to do, I'm so scared, what if I fail? Oh, I'm not good enough. It's these things that we're telling ourselves, these self-limiting beliefs, and I think that's the macro problem. I think there's also a huge overdiagnosis happening as well, and usually can be traced back to these very core beliefs we have in ourselves that came from externally social media, came from ourselves, came from our friends, etc., that are holding us back. But I think it's also people are lonely. Tech is part of the way we connect now. Is it so bad that I send my friends an Instagram reel and they laugh at it and we connect over that? No. But is it bad that there's infinite scrolling mechanisms that are keeping you away from talking with your friends? I think so, yes. And so I think it's a function of what tech is out there right now that's ripping us apart from other people, and how can we meet people where they are on social media using these AI products, et cetera, to help them maybe get off of it. And so a feature we're building as a berry is if you bring 5 berries together, its nose will light up, or something cool like that will happen. And so it'll just bring people together. I think that's important.
So what's the name of the guy? I'm sorry.
Berry.
Barry. So I'm talking about basically root stem issues that come from my insecurity, whatever. I'm afraid of this, that, and the next thing. You can pick it. You're dealing with. What would Barry say to the kid who's talking about its various insecurities? Where's Barry?
I know. I forgot it. He's in San Francisco right now. Yeah, what is he saying? Well, there's a couple of different ways to approach it, because if you're coming, it's a hard one, because if you're coming to this thing emotions forward and you're in maybe a mini crisis and you're just again, back to teens' brains. Our prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. Our limbic system is. That's the part of the brain that processes emotions. And so we're very emotion forward, and that's why the emotional granularity thing is important. And so maybe it's starting the conversation with just naming how you're feeling and sort of just calming down. Parasympathetic nervous system, you're back in control, et cetera. So maybe that's the start of it. And then it can get a bit more intellectual. And then it's oh, let's dive deep into this. Oh, maybe I don't want to yet. Let's just talk about the problem. Give me more context about the problem. I have users who have therapists, and they use it in between sessions or when their therapist is off. And they're just talking to it and ranting to it. They're just hey, Barry, I don't want advice right now. I just kind of want to talk it out. And my friends are asleep, and I don't want to talk to my mom because we're in a fight right now. Can I just talk to you? So it just depends on the person, and that's the cool thing about AI. You can scale this nuance. It just depends. Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
What would you say to parents that are concerned about their kids' feelings and emotions and personal mindset being exposed to AI and the privacy issue of everything being laid out?
Totally. Yeah, it's hard. I think the biggest thing to be concerned about is what I was telling you earlier, which is these AIs are just validating you, and there's no growth there because they're not incentivized to help you grow. A lot of the business models are the more you use it, the more we make, the more money we make, the more you're addicted to this thing. And I can talk about how we're different, but I think the most important thing is the teen. I think the biggest thing you get from Barry is being self-aware. And I don't think it's necessarily bad to talk to these things about your emotions. Obviously, I'm building something around it. But I think as long as you're cultivating that self-awareness, and what does that mean? It means thinking for yourself. It means being aware of when you're using these things too much or what it might be doing, et cetera, because that's the only thing that's in your control, right? Back to like what can we control versus what we can't. We can't control what these companies are doing. We can control what we are doing and how we're reacting to that and how we're using these products. I think the wrong thing, especially for teens, is I'm stepping in and I'm going to view everything you're doing because that's not respecting their privacy, even though these companies aren't, and maybe they're not aware of that. So I think it's just having that transparency with your kid and being like, hey, like let's just like practice this together, and showing that in yourself. And making a social contract where mom and I, we're not going to watch more than 20 minutes of Reels or something like that, or TikTok. So I think it's just first having that transparency, and second, cultivating the right skills.
One more quick question.
Yeah.
Do you know how much it's going to cost?
Yes, it's going to be around $150 plus a $10 a month subscription. The pricing model was based off of therapy. $150 per hour is therapy. This will be $150 one time, plus recurring in a subscription. So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.